Welcome to my video, where I can help you figure out if you need a game in 10 minutes or less. Don't believe me? Then stick around and I'll prove it. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is MiAh, and here's a fun fact to keep you invested. Did you know it was a dentist who came up with the idea of the electric chair? Now then, thank you for deciding to stick around. Today we're taking a look at a game that just released for early access, but not in early access, called Broken Arrow. What's the difference? For early access means if you pay more money, you get to play the game earlier than others. In early access means it's unfinished and needing more time to cook. Developed by Steel Balalaika, oh man, I hope I said that right, and published by Slytherin Ltd, Broken Arrow is currently selling for $60 and fully released. Not in early access, but accessible for early play if you pay. So what even is this game anyway, and is it even worth it? Well, let's find out. And I'm going to be straight up about this right now. I am not a typical fan of this. I am not a heavy player of games like this, and I have little to no experience with games like these, but I had very little to do this week, and so here I am. But I'm a noob coming into this, and just giving you my opinion based on my initial limited experience, alright? So first, let's talk about the campaign and then the online capabilities. The reason is because they are two completely different modes of play. In terms of the single-player campaign, it overall has an average story, which is basically just an excuse to have a war game, so it's not really that big of a deal. It's decently programmed with some fun moments and a lot of dialogue of well-voiced characters. In the single player, you can really take your time and kind of just enjoy the combat and the realism of this game, which there is a lot of, while zooming in and getting a great camera angle or even just plan out some interesting strategies in a very well-designed gameplay mode. The game also offers the ability for you to create your own scenarios, which is a really cool idea that I really love, and it offers a plethora of different game modes for you to try. You can play with friends against AI, and you can play against other players, but for some reason you cannot play single player against AI or with AI allies, and I'm not too sure why. And then you've got the online multiplayer, or the PvP aspect of the game, which I assume is what most people will want to play this for. Now, I have a lot of good and bad to say about the online multiplayer, but first let me speak about the overall game in general. So the first thing I really liked was the graphical design, and more accurately, the attention to detail. I mean, look, you can even see some dudes inside this damn helicopter, and there are tons of little details like this everywhere, with great shadows and lighting and color choices. Great contrast and sharpness, and just overall it looks pretty damn good everywhere you look. Whether you're zoomed super in or zoomed super out, it all looks really nice to just watch. They even have great smoke effects and missile effects, and I could keep going. Overall, it just looks great. The next thing I really liked about the game was the sound design. It comes with voice acting, as I mentioned earlier, which is always super nice, from key characters during the campaign or just giving every unit their own voice, thus adding immersion and realism. The music, when present, kind of fits the theme, and it's a bit forgettable, but overall it's not super overimposing or annoying or useless. And the sound effects are freaking awesome. Like, they are definitely probably the best part of the game. The sounds of the missiles whooshing by, or the explosions, the gunshots sound heavy and realistic, and being in the thick of battle, hearing all this going on is just intense, and it's exactly what you want to hear. And now let's get into the gameplay. To keep it brief, you have a large variety of units that you get to control and manage on a large scale map with lots of different types of terrain available, each providing something for you or your enemies, with line of sight for units, cover for infantry, smoke screens, and utilizing both land and air components of war. This includes, but is not limited to, attack choppers, transport choppers, tanks, fighter jets, recon jeeps, gunships, and I could keep going, each with their own mode of gameplay style and mechanics to add depth to the overall gameplay mechanics. Each map has its own objective that you need to accomplish, all while maintaining ammo and health for your troops, and trying to keep them alive while maintaining your constant income so you can replace anything that's unfortunately lost in battle. But not everything in this game is peachy keen, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. There are definitely some dark clouds hanging over this new game just released, and I'll go into them next. However, I'd greatly appreciate it if anyone watching this could help support the growth of my channel. How? Liking, commenting, subscribing, and most importantly, hitting that notification bell. I do these videos to try and help people save money, but I can't do that if you don't hit that button, so make sure you do and stay informed, alright? Alright, okay, so now let's talk about a few of the game's flaws. One of the things I already mentioned is the game's lack of ability to be able to play skirmish against AI with just yourself, so you can't really, you know, just play solo by yourself in these weird or these cool different skirmish matches that the game has, so that's a little bit annoying. I don't know if that's a bug or what's going on with that. And you can't include your friends in campaign. That's a little bit disheartening as well. Another thing I didn't really like was the overall stability of the game. Now, when I say overall, let me be clear. The game didn't clip, stutter, drop frames, crash, or freeze, or anything game-breaking like that. No. In regards to that, the game actually ran really well. It was very smooth. Instead, it has more of a connection issue. There was obvious lag in several matches I played online, but it gets worse than that. My very first issue was the very first online match that I played where everyone on my team except for me was disconnected. This was incredibly unfortunate, but I'm a good sport, so I hung around and kept trying to fight the other team, who strangely enough no one disconnected from. On my second match, another one of my teammates disconnected again, leaving us outnumbered, but at least the rest of them stuck around, so that was lucky. I will say, however, that the game was able to get me into a match very quickly, as I never had to wait longer than 60 seconds to get into a match. Although, I have no idea what this is, like what's going on here. For some reason, when entering these lobbies, nothing ever really happened and no one ever really did anything. I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know if this is a bug, a glitch, if people are AFK or what, but the lobbies were really weird for me, and I ended up having to do quick play just to be able to get into a game online. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. I think there might be some issues with the online stuff going on right now. Now, the next thing that kind of bugged me about the gameplay was during the PvP matches, where I noticed a few design choices from the developers that simply don't make a lot of sense, or perhaps are created this way on purpose just to be difficult. Let me give you an example. In a PvP match, you have to capture these points, as you can clearly see on the screen. You see, you get resources from this little counter in the top left of the screen. These resources accumulate over time, and you need to manage them carefully, as there is a limit to how much you can get, so don't just sit there not gaining anything. Make sure you're always building something, so that way you're always gaining these, let's just call it money. Anyway, you summon troops to the battlefield, but they're not instant. No. It takes them a long time to get there, and only from select entrances across the map. Not only is this annoying, but it makes planning out strategies in this fast-paced online PvP game very difficult. But all of that could be explained and even possibly forgiven, but what really doesn't make any sense to me is the planes and the jets in this world. Utilizing air of any type in PvP is kind of pointless in this game, at least from my experience, as all it takes is one player to set up a few AA units, pretty much any type in any random place around the map, and they've got insane range, and your little decoys that your planes and helicopters can shoot out, yeah, they don't do nothing. The point is, your air is going to be shot down in seconds due to this nonsense. But still, we haven't gotten to the main point yet, the worst sin of all, which to me is the jets. Having to control them. They're more than a little frustrating. This is a game about micromanaging your units and trying to take over an entire map with like 5 people against 5 people. Like, you don't have time to babysit a jet, which you literally need to do, or else it will die fairly quickly. How do I know that? Because it has fuel! The damn thing will literally run out of fuel and crash and die if you don't keep an eye on him and send him back home in time. Also, with 5 different players out there with their own jets and AA emplacements, you need to try and keep the guy at the right altitude and right direction and make sure he's attacking the right units, all without getting him killed or forgetting to send him home before he runs out of fuel. Now, don't get me wrong, it's really cool that you can control him, zoom in and follow him, and he has all these commands and mechanics and whatnot, but when your guys are dying in seconds to AA weapons and need to be micromanaged, you simply cannot manage your jets at the same time as all your other units, especially because your jets move realistically fast on the map. To me, this feels like very poor design when taken into consideration along with everything else. Also, let me point out, this game is not for people who are casuals. This is a game that you need to be ready to invest some serious time into it if you want to be able to play it and get good at it. That means that you can't just jump in and start playing and having fun. You will have to dedicate 4 or 5 hours to this game to be able to understand it and get good enough at it to be able to have any actual fun. So if you're not willing to do that, you might want to turn away now. There are so many different units with different gear, and all without a single tooltip or hint as to what they do, which means if you don't already have a working knowledge of military hardware or of the game itself, you will be absolutely 100% lost throughout your experience and have no idea if this truck is an AA truck or an artillery truck. Since it looks identical to each other, then it's all literally just a guess without some serious studying, sorry. And the last 2 things that really irritated me about the game was the tutorial and the price tag. Now, the tutorial wasn't all that bad. Like, there was a lot of dialogue, and there was a lot of effort put into it, as well as it being kind of fun to get through. But honestly, I didn't learn anything about anything in that tutorial. Everything that supposedly taught me, I could have figured out on my own. And I think the breaking point for me was this. Despite me doing exactly what the tutorial told me to do, and for some reason, I don't know, my jet cannot hit this moving target. The game tells me to utilize the laser so my jet could hit it, and it was still missing and just flying around. You can see the green laser and my jet just flying around and around and around, trying to hit this moving guy. No matter what I did, no matter what I tried, I simply couldn't complete this objective. And then my jet ran out of fuel because I wasn't paying attention, and rather than head home, he decided to crash because the pilot has the brain cell of a 2-year-old. As for the price, I am legitimately, honestly, not seeing a single reason why this game should be asking for $60. Now, I know I paid to play the game early, but what does that mean? What will the final asking price be on day 1 of the game's initial release? $50? $40? Still too much. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I think $40 might be okay. It's the absolute most someone should pay for this. Not because I have any serious qualms against the game, but simply because, in my opinion, it doesn't offer enough to be worth more than that. So, look, overall, I think it's painfully obvious that this game just isn't meant for me. I've played a bunch of online strategy games. I've played Company of Heroes, Age of Empires, StarCraft 2, and yada yada yada, a bunch of others, but for me personally, these types of large RTS battle games are just simply not in my area of expertise. It's really hard for me to review games like this in only a few hours, and it makes it harder for me to give it a complete unbiased opinion. I'm just trying to be honest. But in conclusion, I'll say this. If this is your type of game, I don't see anything wrong with it to stop you from buying it. I personally still feel that the price tag might be a bit too much, so maybe wait till it goes down, and I think it needs a little bit work on its connection issues, but otherwise, if this is your kind of game, then as far as I can tell, it's not doing anything inherently wrong for you to want to avoid it. I don't think you're getting ripped off. It works well. For the most part, its stability is fine. The gameplay is solid for the most part. The sound effects and graphics are great. Overall, the game has a lot going for it, so I think a lot of my issues with the game are simply from me being a noob and not knowing what I'm doing. So if this is your kind of game and you do like this stuff and you've got experience with it, then I would highly, highly encourage you to check it out, as it seems to be doing everything fairly well. It's just not for me, and I can accept that. But that's all the time I got for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.